Have you noticed how people can get that way, Rob?
Absolutely.
They lock in.
Although the weed might have something to do with it. Then my buddy, he smoked on the way to my place. Said, hey, Bob, Bob, what do you think of that?
So,
is it the TV or the weed?
And you know what the interesting thing is, Rob? I don't know about you, but I have noticed that some of the nastiest, meanest people that I've ever met in the last few months are Barack Obama supporters. I noticed how the Obama campaign and the news media were saying that McCain supporters are nasty, mean, belligerent, and how they say nasty things while they, at McCain rallies, and I don't doubt that.
I've noticed that.
But the fact is, if you speak bad, and I noticed this, if you speak about Barack Obama, if you start stating comments like many times I do about what is actually wrong with Barack Obama, it has nothing to do with the fact that he's half black. No, black. He's half black, has a white mother. So the fact that he is half black does, all of a sudden if you start speaking bad of his policies, you immediately are a racist. You don't like black people. I'm like, what? That doesn't matter to me. I could care less. I'll give you the names of probably 20 people who are, quote, minorities of various groups, who I would have no problem as President of the United States, because they would know what to do, which is get out of the way. I have a problem with socialists. I have a problem with hardcore, left-wing, statist collectivists. And you know what? That's what Barack Obama is, folks. So you Democrats, maybe you want socialism in the United States because you've never experienced socialism, and you think it's time for it to be tried. Well, you could have elected Hillary Clinton for that. But you got Barack. Now the question is the old adage that people deserve the government that they get, is that going to come true? Well, personally, I don't think I deserve it. And I really, really get upset when someone says, I have to follow the rules that you want. And I think deep down, Rob, I think people who voted for Barack Obama, they don't want to be ruled by somebody else. And they got tired of McCain and Bush. And I think really a lot of people voted for Obama not because of who Obama is. They did the usual. They looked at these two major candidates and they said, which one of these is the worst? Mm-hmm. Do we want to continue this 8 years of the Bush doctrine and the destruction of the American civil liberties, the economy, the imperialist wars? Do we want to continue that knowing that that's what McCain's going to do, or do we want to stop the Bush and neocon agenda? And I think a lot of people had no desire to vote for Barack Obama.
The party line goes with that too.
Right.
The Republicans screwed it up. Let's go back to the Democrats.
Right. And that's the other problem, is it?
And it bounces back and forth, right. And people
you haven't got out of the left-right paradigm.
Exactly. And you forget your history. You forget. You don't look at the big picture and look at how we bounce back and forth in these phony elections from Democrat, Republican, and all the while going down this road towards more socialism, more centralized government control.
Collectivist mentality. Now, frankly, we know Bush is a collectivist. Look what has happened with the bank bailout. They have socialized banking. Now the federal government owns the banking system, which is supposedly of private entities. And they're bailing out every corporation in the world, including the automobile industry.
So this pattern has been manipulated, these cycles. They talk about economic cycles, but what they don't tell you is these cycles are purposefully manipulated by the Federal Reserve Bank in order to
control the population, pretty much.
And control and bring about, for instance,
a one world government, which is being, November 15th of this year, they are starting the new financial summit, which is talking about how they can make a global solution to the world financial crisis. And I swear, Pay attention, folks, because they are now really, really constituting the new world order. One world government, one currency system, and they're going to slip it in slowly, like usual, and they're going to try to bring in that world democratic socialism, which I think Rob has something about.
This is a book that was written in 1960 by a guy, Gary Allen was his name, and it was so prescient.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly the word that I was.
Because it was prescient.
Prescient.
we were thinking presciently identical. Anyway, go ahead.
Precognitive, science, from the word science, pre-science, omniscient.
I hypnotized him.
You got a mind meld to go on here sometime. A dictatorship was impossible in our republic, the way it was set up and it was supposed to be, of a constitutional republic, because power was widely diffused between the three branches, as you know, the executive, legislative, and judicial. Today, as we approach democratic socialism, incrementally, and it was going on before 1960 when this book was written, and it has continued incrementally, so you don't see it. Is being centralized all power is being centralized at the apex of the executive branch of the federal government. Written in 1960, he saw the trend.
The Bush Doctrine.
This concentration of power makes a dictatorship inevitable. Those who control the president indirectly gain virtual control of the whole country. Very prescient.
So George Bush, over his 8 years, has been finalizing or formulating that whole, what did he call it? The unitary executive power that he claims he has over the entire government. Remember, it's George Bush and his staff of attorneys that make the claim that the executive branch of government has ultimate authority, that they are not accountable to anybody, and that in fact they can control Congress, they can control the judiciary, and they can control whatever the states, who are no longer free, no longer part of the 10th Amendment, do. That's what Rob was just telling you about.
So, Federal Reserve Bank, which is private banks,
controlled by the executive.
Controlled by the executive, print money, essentially. The bailout, talk about a bailout, they can't bail out anything. They effectively are printing money, although it's mostly electronic now. It's not so much the currency. And that's what they want to continue to do, is less and less currency, actually, and more cards, credit cards, debit cards mostly. And by creating money out of nothing, these cycles, these economic cycles are created. And now, again, with the problem, reaction, solution, using the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, the new credit crisis, what they knew they were doing, many of the people, most of the bankers and the lower level players are unaware of the trend, the overall agenda. But this is what it is aimed towards, creating a crisis so that they can introduce the solution, which will be a new currency.
Rob, we have a video. We have two videos that we want to show you about the bailout bill. The first one, as you'll see, is quite interesting because it'll tell you exactly what's going on with how leveraged the credit crisis truly is. That $700 billion, folks, is nothing.
Oh, yeah. We're talking quadrillions.
A quadrillion. Now, the second one is going to tell you how surprised and shocked that TheStreet.com, i.e. CNBC, is about how all of the meetings that Treasury Secretary Paulson, Federal Reserve Chairman Bernanke, and all of this new financial meltdown group that they've created are having. They go to these secret powwows, okay? They come out with their documents of what they've discussed, what they're going to do, and the documents are redacted.
When the media announced the Paulson-Bernanke plan to bail out Wall Street,